Very good morning, students. Let us enjoy the second poem, The Sower by Victor Hugo. The sower is a person who implants seeds in the farm. Uh, in this picture, we are getting nature as well as the sower man. Uh, and this picture itself gives the theme of this poem. The major theme of the poem is nature as well as the farmer. Poet has thrown light on both things or both factors. Today we completely forgot the company of nature and the natural life. Farmer's life stands for natural way of life, and the nature is the inevitable part of our life. But today we move away from these two important factors in our life. Agriculture is the soul of our nation, India. And so, in this sense, sower becomes the heart or the core part of our nation. Poet has created a keen feeling about the nature and the natural way of the sower. So, we'll see the natural life, what type of values we are getting there, because nature and the natural life always give us a treasure of values that gives the real joy to your life. So we'll see the poem The Sower. Before starting the poem, we see the icebreakers. Some activities are given in the icebreakers. First activity is make a list of words related to agriculture. Many more words are there related to the agriculture. Few examples we see: crop, farm, seed, harvest, rain, manure, cattle, fertilizers, etc. Number of words are there. You can add your own words there. Then second activity, discuss the activities carried out by a farmer. One is given there: plowing, sowing, harvesting, water irrigation, winnowing. So many activities are there in the life of farmer, or we can say the whole life. In the whole life of the farmer, he indulged in several activities. Third activity, in our country, engineering, teaching, and medical fields are much sought after. Many more people are there, youngsters are there. Their dream is to be an engineer or a teacher, or most of the students prefer to enter into medical field. But besides these fields, there are major sectors in our India, and that major sector is the agricultural sector. But today's youngsters ignore that sector, and we are not seeking the job in that field. So, poet Victor Hugo has created that sense in our mind. So, what are these fields which are ignored by today's youngsters, by the people? We have to discuss in this activity, because these other professions or the occupations are not getting significant contribution to the society, and so we have to discuss this. Perhaps our mind will change and we will select these professions in our life. Farmers, for example, farmer, highly unpredictable life, economic gains are very less, because natural calamities are there, some man-made calamities also are there, and that's why there is no security to farmers' life. And so we people ignore that sector, that field of agriculture, or we don't prefer to be a farmer. The same way, there are many more professions or the occupations which are neglected by people. Conservancy workers, then housemaids, construction, sportsmen, hawkers. So many occupations are there, jobs are there. We are neglecting because there is no security. These people are not getting a respect, or though they are working hard, still they are not getting uh, good money or the profit of this. Then lack of respect is there. In some job or the occupations, it has very shorter period. The jobs are for shorter period, so uncertainty is there, and no guarantee of profit or the money. Besides this, there are many more problems, and we people neglecting, as well as uh, the authority people also not giving great support to these professions or the occupations, uh, which are very important, basically in India, which is an agricultural land. So students, look at the agriculture positively. The next activity, agriculture is the backbone of our Indian economy. So filling the boxes, supporting this statement, agriculture the backbone of India. Of course, it is backbone, very important thing, because uh, many more people engaged in agricultural field. A large part of Indian population is involved in agriculture. But today's youngsters are neglecting this part. Then this agriculture provides many employments to the people. So those uneducated people, they are getting work in the farm. Then largest employment sector, and also our GDP affects or sometimes effects due to this sector. Let us see the introductory part of poet Victor Hugo. Victor Hugo wrote this poem in French language, but that is translated into English by Torulata Datta. So we are getting one poet and one translator poet. Torulata Datta, translator poet, and Victor Hugo, the original poet of this poem. See a brief introduction of Victor Hugo, poet, novelist, and dramatist of the 19th century, was the most important of the French Romantic writers. Though regarded in France as one of the country's greatest poets, he is regarded as the country's greatest poet, but his greatest contribution is in the novels. He is better known for novels. Though he is well known for writing his poetry, but his first introduction is as a novelist. As Notre Dame de Paris in 1831 he wrote, and then second Les Miserables, that is in 1862. These two novels, French novels, are very famous. And Torulata Datta translated his poem into English. So, something about the translator poet Torulata Datta, a Bengali poet also known as Toru, wrote in English and French. Torulata wrote in both language, English and French, was born on 4th March 1856 in Kolkata. She is considered to be the first Indian poetess to write verses in English and French. Verses means poems. he is the first Indian poetess. She is the first Indian poetess. She translated dozens of poems and completed a novel before her death at the age of 21. Unfortunately, she died at the age of 21. But students, just imagine, in that short duration, uh, she has done a great work. She translated many more poems as well as wrote novel. So there is great contribution to the English and French literature of Torulata Datta. Her poems such as her poems such as Sita, Lotus, our Casuarina tree are well loved, well known poem, well loved by people. The Sower is a translation of Victor Hugo's poem Cessin des Semiles, Lissoyer. It is translated by Toru Datta from French to English. The Sower is a poem about a farmer who is sowing seeds. He has seen many bad harvests in his life. Harvesting period means the period when we collect grains from the field. That period is called a harvesting period. And he observed many more bad harvests. Students, we face many difficult situations in our life, and most of the people, uh, especially in urban area, they get depressed in these situations. But farmer, very confident man, determined man, never gives up his weapons and remains firm and determined and loved his work, and that's why uh, farmer's life is respected by us. The Sower is a poem about a farmer who is sowing seeds. He has seen many bad harvests in his life. However, he is so optimistic of having good harvest every time. He tosses grain. He tosses grain, he scatters grain. Though many more bad harvests he might have observed in his life, still he always remained very positive. Farmer or the sower always remain very positive and look into the future positively. And that's why he tosses grain, he scatters grain in each and every year, thinking this year he will get a very good harvest. So this is the optimistic view of farmer, which is the greatest value in everyone's life. So students, always look at the poem uh, in a different way, because poem is not like other subject, or whatever is the language, it is not like science, maths or any other commercial subject. These literature teaches you the values of life. Literature gives you the philosophy to your life. So, how to look at the poem and how to enjoy it and how to apply it in our personality, this is the matter to learn here, to grasp. Okay, let us see the actual poem. The sower means the person who implants the seeds. Sitting in a porchway cool, sunlight I see, dying fast. Twilight hastens on to roll. Working hours have well-nigh passed. Sitting in a porchway cool. Poet Victor Hugo sits in his porchway, in his veranda. Porchway means veranda. Very cool place. The atmosphere is very cool because this is evening time his mind attracts towards the sunlight. And poet says, I see dying fast. Sunlight is dying fast. Dying fast means vanishing. Sunlight is vanishing very fast. Because in the evening time, uh, sun is setting down in the west. And that moment is very fast moment. Have you observed, have you enjoyed that sunset and sunrise? Really, very marvelous moments. Everyone has to enjoy these moments. Twilight hastens on to rule. Hastens means to move quickly. And twilight means the meeting of the day and the night, the meeting period, the meeting duration of day and night. That is called a twilight. Very sweet period of the day, twilight. This is the period when we have to do the pranayam and number of important activities because that is the unions, nature's meeting. The daytime and night times mating period is there. And so twilight hastens on to rule. Move quickly. Because when we observe twilight, very fast sun is setting down in the west. And so hasten, the word hasten is used here. On to rule means now there is the dominancy of darkness just after few minutes. Working hours have well-nigh passed. Working hours, generally, what are the working hours? 9 or 10 to 6 or 9 to 5. These are the generally working hours of many people. So working hours have well-nigh passed. Means these working hours are getting over. Well-nigh means almost getting over. 5:30 p.m. We are going towards our home, completing our work. But here in this poem, poet got very different picture, and that picture catches his mind. So let us see in the next stanza. Shadows run across the lands, but a sower lingers still. Old in rags, he patient stands. Looking on, I feel a thrill. Black and high, his silhouette. Look at the picture of the farmer. Sunset is there, so the sun gets reddish. Even birds are flying towards their nest. Shadows run across the lands. You know, in the evening time, shadows are getting long, and when we look at the land or the farm, we are getting shadows on the farm. There are the shadows of trees, shadows of mountain, shadows of people. Number of shadows we are getting, even the shadows of birds. So, poet Victor Hugo, a keen observer of the nature, very beautifully described nature. Shadows run across the lands, but a sower lingers still. All the people are going towards their home, but sower lingers. Sower stayed there in his farm. Still, though many more people are going towards their home, but very patiently, very firmly, farmer stayed there in the farm because he wanted to complete his work, because he loves his work very much. He is not looking at the time because he wanted to complete the work. Old in rags, he patient stands. old in rags. His physical appearance is not remarkable here. We urban people always gives great importance to the physical appearance. But what type of physical appearance of the farmer? Poet describes old in rags. Farmer is in rags. Rags means very dirty and tattered clothes. He patient stands. He works in the farm very patiently. He is very calm, firm, determined. Great patience is there. And these are the qualities which we have to learn. Looking on, I feel a thrill. Poet says, looking at the farmer, he is all alone in the farm. Still very silent, very calm, very firm. And that's why poet feels it a thrill. Means poet feels it fantastic, marvelous, wonderful. Looking at the sower, looking at the farmer. What are the great qualities? Black and high, his silhouette. The farmer is black, of course. Farmer's skin is always black because they are working hard and they are facing severe climate, and that's why the appearance is black and his height is very nice. His silhouette means his body structure, or we can say outline, his body's outline, his silhouette is black and high. Dominates the furrows deep. Now to sow the task is set. Soon shall come a time to reap. Marches he along the plain. Dominates the furrows deep. Dominates the furrows deep. Farmer or the sower has made number of channels or the lines in the farm, which channels are used to implant the seeds. But here poet is making comparison between the furrows and the appearance of the farmer or the sower. Poet compares that deep furrows, that deep channels in the earth and the dominant figure of the farmer. And when he does that comparison between the furrows, dominant furrows, and the personality of the farmer, poet feels that farmer's personality dominates the furrows, because poet gives importance to the farmer's life, because farmer's psychology is very strong, very dominant, very firm, very determined, and that's why he says, let us see, there is a picture of furrows, the channel or the line in the earth, that furrows are not important before the dominant figure of the farmer. Now to sow, the task is set. There is a great planning in the life of farmer. Though no education is there, but planning, greatest planning is there. Number of skills he require. So he is dominant about his sowing, and he started his task. He started his work of sowing the grain in the earth. Soon shall come a time to reap. And then the sower thinks that very soon the time of reaping will come. Reap means when there is a harvest period. That time we are collecting the grain from the farm. So whatever the duration it require to get the reap, in the whole duration farmers are working A number of small duties are there. So he indulged in his work throughout the days, and that's why deliberately poet has used the word soon, means very soon there will be the time to reap. It means farmers are not getting leisure period. Students, we people are getting such type of leisure period, but farmers' life is very hard life. They are not getting such type of leisure time. Many more duties they have to complete in their life. Marches he along the plain. Always we are using this word for the soldier, marching of soldiers. The word march indicate great discipline and strict or the rigid rules are there. So, like the soldier's life, farmer's life also is disciplined life, very strict life. Some rigid rules of nature are there and he has to follow that. So, marches he along the plain. He is walking across his plain, doing many more tasks in his field. To and fro and scatters white. From his hands the precious grain. Muse I as I see him stride. Darkness deepens, fades the light. Now his gesture to mine eyes are august and strange his height seems to touch the starry skies. To and fro and scatters white. He is scattering the grain. He is throwing the grain across the land. To and fro means forward and backward. He is moving forward and backward. Here and there he is throwing, he is scattering the grain. From his hands the precious grain. Using his hands he is throwing, he is scattering the grains. The grains which is very precious to the farmer. That is the wealth of farmer, grains, because one grain will multiply number of grains. So that becomes very precious treasure for the farmer. Muse I. Muse means contemplate, meditate, think, brood. I muse, I brood, I contemplate as I see him stride. I see him stride. Stride means having long walk. We can say stride, that is long steps. Having the long steps, that is strides. Do you remember Mahatma Gandhiji's stride? The person who is very confident or firm, they are walking very fast, taking very long steps. So, the farmer, the sower is a firm man, confident man. So, I see him stride. Very keen observation of the poet. Darkness deepens. In the evening time, darkness is getting very fast, fades the light, and when there is a darkness overcast the land, light will light will fade up or it will get vanish. Now his gestures to mine eyes. What is the gesture of the farmer in the mind of Victor Hugo? He says, his gesture to mine eyes means his personality. In my eye, it changed completely. Earlier, the farmer was just in old rags, but that personality turned into an august man. August man means the nobleman. There is a great respect created in the mind of the poet about the farmer, and that respect is not for his outward appearance, but the respect is for his values. The respect is for his determination. The respect is for his firm nature and optimistic attitude. So now his gesture to mine eyes are august. August means noble, humble, and strange his height. In my eyes, poet says, his height becomes very great. Poet kept the sower on the pedestal, on the high on the pedestal, and poet thinks that I see the farmer's height is touching to the starry skies, touching to the sky in the night, touching to the moon or the stars in the sky. It means there is a comparison between the nature and the human beings' values. So, Victor Hugo throws light in this poem on the nature, as well as there are powerful qualities in human beings' life which are equal to the nature. Thank you. I read this poem 2 times.